There's a light at the end of the tunnel, so they say. When you hear those words, a spell is being cast. Have you ever taken a moment to consider how many references to light there are in our realities? Whether it's in our spoken words, in the books we read, in the movies we watch, and the symbols we encounter. On the surface, it makes perfect sense to conclude light is good and dark is bad. After all, angels, Jesus, the warmth of the morning sun, the light bulb, they are all iconic representations of light and good. Whereas the Grim Reaper, Darth Vader, black holes, shadow souls are all iconic representations of darkness and bad. First and foremost, this is a duality we have created and cast upon ourselves. We did so because we are human and fallible, and we have entered this realm with duality as an integral part of our existence. However, there's a different side to this light versus dark story I'd like to explore here. We might begin by asking ourselves why the opposing forces of light and dark are used in the first place. Why are they used in a manner that favors the light and equates it to goodness, virtue, and an elevated stature, yet it negates darkness and equates it with evil, ill intentions, and disdain? How often have you heard the phrases like, "Don't join the dark side," and "This person has a dark side"? In the midst of all the lies that have confounded us about our existence, where we live, why we are here, etc., and our ability to free ourselves from the prison we have built hinges on questioning everything being sold to us as truth, especially by people and institutions that claim to be gatekeepers of knowledge. We have an obligation to pay careful attention to the language, to the grammars, and the vocabularies that are being used to tell a life story that has left so many feeling insignificant, small, broken, and vulnerable. The duality between light and dark is a part of this life story, and it plays a role in shaping where many find themselves in this constructed reality. So, what's at stake, and who benefits from the creation and propagation of the darkness versus light dualism? We might dare say that you benefit from it because you were instrumental in creating it as a force that shapes your spirit life journey. Remember, you are your own God. You shape your reality according to where you are in your journey. Also, remember that in order to see, feel, and understand truth, you need to experience its opposite. Hence, the dualism between darkness and light give you the eyes to see truth and its antithesis. So let's take a moment and visit the karmic cycle and see how this plays out in it. If you're in the book of death, you will inevitably experience physical death. Take a journey to the moon, be visited by a false being that will give you comfort and guide you through the tunnel of light. Your memory will be erased, and your soul will be birthed into another body back on the physical earth realm, where you'll have an opportunity to grow and take another step closer to the book of life. If you grow into this incarnation and accept light as good and darkness as bad, there's a good chance you'll be conditioned to walk toward that tunnel of light shortly after experiencing physical death. Perhaps the false being you'll be confronted with will tell you to stay away from the darkness and the dark side. Your intuition will guide you toward a false light because at that juncture, that's what you know. Your life story in this incarnation will have supported it based on the darkness versus light dualism that has played such a prominent force in your life story. The never-ending barrage of references to light being good and dark being bad and the virtue behind walking toward that light are not necessarily adverse to your life story if and only if you're at a juncture in your journey where your reincarnation is necessary and inevitable. What do I mean by that? Well, one simply might not be ready to take the next step. One might find themselves in the book of death because they were blind to something critical, or they haven't opened themselves up to understanding their reality in a manner that prepares them to take the next step. There could be a multitude of reasons behind one's path toward needing to reincarnate. Only one's higher self will know what those reasons are. Duality is a powerful force in the creation of our reality, and it's perhaps among the most challenging inclinations to shed in the transition between the book of death and the book of life. Once you own duality, understand the role it played in bringing you to where you are, and understanding how much of a necessary component it was to enabling you to make it this far in your journey, the difference between light and dark and good and bad will appear not necessarily as opposing forces, but as forces you needed to guide you through your journey. There will be no need to attach labels of good and bad to light and dark. They just simply are. This is really a difficult pill for most people to swallow because it's so easy to revert to our dualistic inclinations, point a finger and label it as good or bad. Put that finger away for a moment. The center of our creation is the black sun, which exists in the center of the flat earth plane. The black sun symbolizes a simple yet powerful dark void from which we were created. It is where our consciousness resides. The Gnostics understood this very well and held a deep reverence for the power we have to create and manifest a reality within this void. Your higher self understands this as well. The reason we are not in the void is because we are not ready to experience that power yet. When we're ready, we will find ourselves there. In the meantime, many progress through this incarnation upholding the belief that light is good and dark is bad. This is an inversion, but it can only be understood as an advent of progress in one's spirit life journey. Those that embrace the darkness versus light dualism will grow into it in this incarnation and head toward that light after experiencing physical death. They will then find themselves back in this realm in a new flesh suit with another opportunity to learn. Some easily learn from their past while others are more stubborn. That's the beautiful part about it. You can proceed through your journey at a pace that is comfortable for you, and you're not competing with anybody. You're simply learning as you are meant to. It's easy and more comforting for one to walk towards something they find safety in, whether or not the sense of safety is false. In this case, it's a false light. That's a part of the puzzle one needs to solve themselves, and it might take several incarnations in order for one to get there. For those who have entered the book of life, there isn't really much more to say other than it's important to stand beside those who are at different junctures in their journey and understand that the control over one's life story rests with them, not with you. If others find virtue in walking toward the light, stand beside them. Their higher self knows more about what they need than you ever will. That's all for now. Be well, sun gaze, and reject fear.